I honestly didn't even know about Tiburon until I started searching for land. And my motivation, like we talked about earlier, was finding some green. I wanted a place that we could get out and just go be under the trees. And of course, everything up north is very, very expensive and hard to come by. And so I thought, where else is there green in this state? And so
Yes.
started exploring and came across Cloudcroft. Prices in Cloudcroft are actually pretty high compared to Tiburon, even though it's just up the road.
Yep.
And then I came across Tiburon, and thought, wow, what is this? And did some exploring, and sure enough, it seemed like the right place for me.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Land Stories Live. I have the pleasure of having with me Monica Manley. Hey, Monica.
Hey.
Glad to have you with. We were just chatting beforehand. I was like, oh, she's saying so much good stuff. We got to hit the record button. And so here we go. You and I got to meet through buying some land in Tiburon, New Mexico. But before we talk about that, I'd love just to know a little bit about you. How where'd you grow up, and how'd you get to where you are now?
Sure. Actually, I was born in New York City, but my family moved.
Uh-oh.
My family moved out west when I was in high school, and I've lived out here ever since. So pretty much my adulthood has been all in the Southwest in New Mexico. I've raised my family here. I'm an educator now. I've been teaching for over 20 years in New Mexico. What else?
Well,
Anything
tell me
else?
about, New York and New Mexico. Talk about two totally different areas. Were you like in the Bronx or
Yeah,
in
yeah. Actually,
Manhattan or?
yeah. My family is all from New York, so I was born in the Bronx. Had my grandmother lived in Manhattan. We were very much city folks. But by the same token, there's the other side of that coin of being city folks. There were some things my dad was not happy with and didn't want his young girls exposed to. So we actually moved out of New York abruptly and went to Concord, New Hampshire, of all places. I actually had a family member living up there. So one culture change to the next, and then we were there for a few years. But my dad was having health issues, and the advice then was, go west where it's drier and air is more clear. And so we did. We literally got in a Volkswagen Jetta and drove across country to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I've been here ever since. My parents have moved in and out of the state. My sister left and went to Arizona and Colorado and Utah. But I've been here ever since and really made this my home. My kids, like I said, have been born and raised here and really love it. My son, both my older children are college age, and they had the opportunity to go elsewhere for college, but they decided, no, we just want to be home close to New Mexico. So this is our place. Yeah.
I think what so many people don't realize about New Mexico is just how beautiful it is. When before I got into this business, I had been through New Mexico before. And in my mind, I'm thinking desert, I'm thinking really hot. We had been to Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and of course, one of them is up in the trees and beautiful. But
Right.
most of it that I saw, was just deserty. I'm curious,
Yeah.
like, what are some of your favorite spots in New Mexico? And
Oh gosh. Well, along my time here in New Mexico, one commitment I made to myself years and years ago was to learn my state more. I actually was raising young children when my neighbor from California moved in, and she knew more about this state than I did in just the 6 months she had lived here. And I thought, this is not right. So I'm going to get up and explore. And I have to tell you, I actually took up motorcycling. Great way to learn
Wow.
the state. Yeah.
Cool.
So joined a club, and we've been all over the state. And I tell you, we've got mountains, we've got waterfalls, we've got green and dry and deserty too. There's just all kinds of little hideaways, I would say, in and around the city of Albuquerque. Santa Fe, yeah, more green, more higher desert. But you can go down south to south to Elephant Butte, and there's a man-made lake there. There's lots of wonderful fishing holes. So it's definitely a place worth visiting and spending some time. We've got lots of folks that like to come out here and retire, even because we do get 4 seasons, just not as extreme
Yeah.
as back east, and of course not as hot as say Phoenix.
Right. Yeah.
I've
Well,
struggled in Phoenix, even though I've lived in the desert for so long. Couldn't do Phoenix.
because how hot does it get where you live in New Mexico? Like what's
We get in the high 90s, low 100s occasionally, but nothing like the persistent hundreds and above that you would get in Arizona and thus other parts of Arizona. Sorry, in Phoenix and other parts of Arizona.
I grew up in Southern California, and it wasn't doesn't get as hot as it gets in Phoenix by any
Yeah,
means. And
yeah,
I always had like a cup of ice sitting around, just to like dab myself and
yeah.
gotta cool down because you can't
Oh,
have air conditioning on all the time. It just kills the
no, I don't know how they do it in Arizona. Again, I just live a couple states away or one state away, and I went on a motorcycle trip to Arizona in July, and I thought, I'm used to the desert. These other folks aren't. I'll be okay. Got into Phoenix, Arizona, hit straight for the hotel and cold shower, and just had to just cool down for a while.
Aw.
Of course, they
Aw.
have amazing year-round riding because of the warm winters.
Yeah.
So that's nice. But I like New Mexico. It's a nice balance of everything. The worst we get probably is some monsoon rains in the springs and some wind also in the spring, but those are pretty predictable now. You can just know. Wearing masks actually helps with the sand and the wind, unfortunately, or
Well,
fortunately, I guess.
well, speaking of being a teacher, and you
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that you do education. I'm curious, how's COVID, impacted you over
Oh,
over
God.
this time period?
Yeah, it's been such a whirlwind. We actually are back in classrooms now, but even with that, if a case pops up, we have to basically clear out that entire classroom. So it's really almost hour by hour, day by day, waiting for governor's orders or for health concerns to arise. Um, our in addition to being an educator, I also supervise student teachers. So I'm seeing the veteran teachers and the brand new teachers coming into this, and everybody's handling it differently. Um, the biggest thing is just there's a lot of grace and compassion and patience and understanding, and hopefully that is something that carries on way beyond the end of this pandemic, is that we all just have a lot more grace and patience and understanding for each other
Yes.
and acceptance. So,
Yes. Well,
in
I've
our
I've
kids.
said my youngest daughter is 9 going on 10 here shortly.
Mhm.
And just I feel like the time without in-person teaching,
Mhm.
is it's kind of like when your spouse is gone for like
Yeah,
a period, they're gone for like a week or two, and then it's like,
yeah,
oh, you're back, thank goodness. Here are
exactly.
your kids. Oh, I appreciate you so much more now. It's like I feel that with
Yes.
teachers
Oh
now.
gosh, I for years I thought, oh, I think I might like to work from home, and then we got put in this experience, and I thought, okay, I'm doing okay. But when I finally got to be with we work in a small office. I work with special needs kids with visual impairments, very small department because it's a low incidence disability. It's just myself and one other coworker that I see regularly, and same thing. It was like, oh my gosh, I missed you so much. How is life, and you don't realize how detached you become when you're just by yourself, kind of isolated. So it's nice to be around folks. It's still tentative, day to day, but just being around other folks has given a lot of folks just a lot more energy and
Yes.
enthusiasm.
Well, thank you for serving on
Oh,
the front lines, I
oh
think, of
God.
being a teacher. So that is
Oh
awesome.
man. It's it's an honor, and like I said, I do hope for lasting change that's come out of this whole
Yes.
situation. Mhm.
True, 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 true.
Yeah.
Well, we got to talk about land. So I mentioned earlier
Yeah.
you bought land in Tiburon, and you actually told me before we even started you had bought land a previous time. So
Yeah.
let's start with the previous time you bought land. Tell us about that.
Okay. Okay. That was years and years ago. And my husband and I were just starting a family. I was working for an insurance agent at the time, but she also did a lot of investing outside of what she did with the insurance agency. And she was, excuse the old truck going by there. Um, she was investing, buying up properties at really fantastic prices. And just kind of paying forward the opportunity, said, "Hey, you need to get in on something." And so my husband and I decided to do that. We grabbed a little quarter acre of land out here in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. It was kind of in the middle of nowhere. We didn't really know what would come of it, but we thought, hey, she knows what she's doing. So, it's not an experience we'd had before and an opportunity we'd had before. So we jumped in on it. The payments were very affordable. And we held on to that land. Eventually we decided to build out in Rio Rancho. And fortunately, the lot of land that we bought on ended up being on a feeder road for a brand new high school being built out in Rio Rancho. So we were very excited about that. Then a subdivision was coming in. And so this area was suddenly developing. Other houses were going in. So that made things like getting utilities a lot easier, getting construction done a lot easier. So we built our first house out here. That little piece of land ended up becoming our down payment for our brand new construction. So we didn't have to do any cash out of pocket to get started. Nice. And so that's always stayed with me, how successful that experience was for us as a family. And so here I am now, all these years later, thinking I want to try it again.
And tell us, why Tiburon? When you have in this beautiful state of New Mexico, where there's so many different areas, why Tiburon for you?
Great question. I honestly didn't even know about Tiburon until I started searching for land. And my motivation, like we talked about earlier, was finding some green. I wanted a place that we could get out and just go be under the trees. And of course, everything up north is very, very expensive and hard to come by. And so I thought, where else is there green in this state, Yes. And so started exploring and came across Cloudcroft. Prices in Cloudcroft are actually pretty high compared to Tiburon, even though it's just up the road.
Yep.
And then I came across Tiburon, and thought, wow, what is this? And did some exploring, and sure enough, it seemed like the right place for me. And I mentioned earlier, my daughter is interested in some off-grid living. And so we wanted someplace that was sort of remote, but still accessible, and so Tiburon just seemed like the right spot.
I love it. That's so fun.
Yeah.
And how did you find us? Was it like a Google search, or was it like a land's website of some sort, or how did it happen originally?
Basically that, I can't remember the search I did, but eventually I found Tiburon, and then land for sale in Tiburon, and your listings came up. And so kind of went from there, just getting to know the area, exploring the different lots that were available, the different topography and that.
Yes.
And so found one that worked well. I found one that I really wanted, but was already sold. But Christy was great about connecting me with some other lots. And so she sent me a whole list, and I explored those and found the one that I settled on.
I love it. And what was it like dealing with Christy? She's not listening right now, so you can tell me.
She was great. I'm a big texter, and because I'm on the go, I'm running around all the time now, especially being back, having to go back and forth to the office. And so we were able to get everything done electronically, basically. I haven't even met her in person, or seen her or talked to her. I had lots of questions, texted her back and forth. She responded really thoughtfully and with really good information that I could use to kind of help make my decision. Awesome. So it's been great. It's been great. I look forward to maybe sometime seeing her face or meeting her in person.
Well, she and I actually met in person for the first time. My family and I are in Minnesota, and so we flew down to Houston and Galveston for spring break a few weeks ago, and she happened to be in town, and so we totally met up randomly at our Airbnb place and got to have breakfast with her and her husband. Her husband's from South Africa, and just a fun couple, and so great being able to see her. So she exists. I've had breakfast with her.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's pretty cool that you're in Minnesota. She's in the Texas, Houston area. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Although she and her husband are looking to move overseas, so she's gonna still be working for me, but might be in Panama or something. They're looking at. Wow. She loves to snorkel and scuba dive, so.
Oh, nice.
We'll see what happens.
There's some places in Texas, but yeah, overseas probably has some better snorkeling and scuba diving.
It's cheaper, right? I mean,
is it really? Okay.
low cost of living out there.
Nice.
Well, I'm curious to know, with the experience with Christy and everything, do you have any feedback for me, in terms of anything that we could do better as a company in helping out with this process?
Yeah, gosh, I just keep finding great lots. It breaks my heart when I see sold, sold, sold. And I was actually tracking the lots for sale and the land for sale in Tiburon for a while before I even reached out to you all. And I don't know if it's the stimulus opportunities or the pandemic or what, but I just saw lots were getting snatched up and prices were creeping up. And so I thought, gosh, I really need to make a move here. So I'm glad I did when I did.
Yes.
Um, is that what you've experienced, that you've had a lot more activity?
And I would say it really started in January of 2020, even pre-pandemic. Like
Wow.
last year was a record year for us. This year's a really good year, but not as good as last year was.
Okay.
I've been in this business now about four years, going
Hmm.
on 5, and there used to be properties I could buy for $1,000. Now, if I'm
Hmm.
lucky, I can
Hmm.
buy it for like 2,500.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, prices have just skyrocketed the
Yeah.
last, I'd say probably 1.5 years. So even pre-pandemic, stuff was just going up, but particularly, areas like Tiburon where there are utilities in some
Yes.
cases, water and power to some lots, not every lot, but a lot of
Right.
lots have that, which
Yeah.
that just makes it easier for everybody that, so many of us want to get away and have another place. And I think
Hmm.
the pandemic has reinforced that for everybody. Like two things: one, spend more time with your family because you never know, when stuff's going to happen, and secondly,
Yeah.
have a hideaway of someplace you can get away to, so.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess now that I think about my motivation for buying, it was very much those things: the experiment with off-grid living, the stimulus money that was kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to, you know, fortunately I am employed, and for a while there I thought teaching might not be as secure as I once thought it
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
because funding depends so much on all these different industries. But so far so good. We've been very stable with our teaching opportunities, and so I thought I'm going to stash this away and maybe do something more lasting and more meaningful than what I might otherwise do to stimulate the economy. So I'm really happy that we had this opportunity, found a great lot. I did get a lot with utilities, very accessible, both water and electricity. So there's some opportunity there in the near future. I'm hoping I can take advantage of it.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, we'll look forward to hearing about it. You got to send me a picture, Monica, once you get out there
Yeah.
and you stand on the land. I'd love to see those. So that would be awesome.
Yes. It's funny. There are wonderful people in Tiburon. I've had to reach out to folks, to get help with just understanding what I was getting into and what the community is like and all that. And I ran into a gentleman in a septic company who offered to go down, take pictures, and walk the land for me, and let me know that I was really getting a good deal. So there's wonderful folks out there. If there's anybody else looking to invest in Tiburon, make your phone calls, look around. Everybody's just been super helpful and very welcoming. So I look forward to actually getting down there in person and meeting some of the people I've connected with.
Well, I think there's some really good resources. A website I often point people to, I think it's tiburon.org, if I remember right.
Mhm.
It has
Mhm.
lots of information about the community and stuff like that. So I highly recommend that for anyone that's interested in that
Yeah.
area. Well, Monica, just one question for you. If someone asks you about dealing with us and the experience that you've had, would you recommend the company to others? And if so, what would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend. It's nice to now put a face and personality to a name. I look forward to doing that with Christy. Um, the biggest thing, especially when you're buying in an area you're not familiar with, is the communication, and you guys have been very on point with the communication, both yourself and Christy. Um, just offered a lot of information that helped put my mind at ease and helped me move forward with the process. And great to work with. You say all over your website that you're a family man and you understand, and that you're willing to work with folks, and that's proven very true. So thank you for that, and for giving our family this opportunity.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, this is why I do this. I
Uh,
love these conversations, and it's been so fun to talk with you for the last 30 minutes, but I'm sure you got to get back in, and I got
yeah.
stuff I got to do. Any other final thoughts, Monica, you want to share with us?
Well, I think that's it. Just thanks again. And I look forward to what's next in Timber.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
blessings to you and your family. If you have any other questions, please reach out. Okay.
I sure will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Monica. Bye-bye.
All right. Here. Bye.